Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be discussing how to use Esploro Data Visualization to analyze research asset usage by country and time. This is Yoel Kortick, Senior Librarian at Libris. So here we are inside Esploro, and I have the role Designs Analytics for Esploro. So from the Analytics menu, we'll click Access Data Visualization. And that will open up a new tab with the data visualization. And let's create now a new workbook. So on the top right here, we're clicking Create Workbook. And within the workbook, we'll choose the subject area, which is Esploro Research Assets Usage right here. And now we can start creating our workbook for the usage of the assets. So let's begin, first of all, by putting in the measure which we want to be checking. In this case, we'll take the number of record views. What we're showing here now works the same for any of these measures. We happen to be choosing number of record views. I'm going to drag that right here into the canvas. And as you can see, it automatically made a tile here. That's the type of visualization. Let's change this to a table because we're going to want to add some fields shortly. And we can do that if it's in a table, but not if it's in a tile. So we'll change this to a table. And we see we have 2,574,726. Let's limit this, for example, by usage date of year 2021 until today. Now, there's a couple of different ways to do the filters. As we do the filters now, we're going to be showing some different options. One way to do this filter would be to drag it right up here, and then I could choose whichever years I want, for example, 2021, 2022, 2023. Another way to do that is, let's remove this. Under this menu option here, we'll say delete. Another way would be here on the top right. When I hover over this area, I get these three dots, and let's say add expression filter. And now we'll take this usage year, put it in the expression, I just dragged it right in, and we'll say is greater than or equal to 2021. Now, whenever we write an expression like this, it's a good idea to validate it. Click this validate button. It says calculation validated. If I had an error, for example, let's say by accident I forgot that first apostrophe, and I tried validate, it tells me it's an invalid expression. So it's always a good idea to validate it. So now it's good. And we're expecting the number to go down now. So we'll say apply. And now it went down to 1,907,000. Before it was 2,500,000 and something. So that means we had over 500,000 from before 2021. So we've got a filter there. And now let's put in the country because we want to analyze not only by time, but also by country. So under the asset usage details, we have a field here, country. Let's put that in. We could either just drag it right here to the table, or we could put it here in what's called the grammar panel within the rows. And now we have the country and the number of record views. Now, for reasons beyond the scope of this specific presentation, in some cases the country is null. So let's get rid of those null. Again, we could do this multiple ways. One way is we could drag the country up here to the top where it's filter, click this null, and say exclude the selection. So now we don't have the null. That's one option. Another option, let's get rid of this filter. I'll click the three dots there so I get the menu and delete. And again, we'll add an expression filter, top right, clicking those three dots, add expression filter. And we'll say country, drag it in, is not null. Let's validate, make sure we didn't make any errors, calculation validated, and apply. So now we have the country and the number of record views. Now this is not that easy to decipher here when we have it in a table. So let's leave the table, but also make a map view. And then it'll be easier to see from the visualization of the map who are the big ones. Let's even say we want number of record views minimum 1,000. So again, we could do an expression filter, or we could just drag the field up to the top here. Let's do it this time without the expression filter. We already have 2 examples of an expression filter. So I'm dragging this number of record views right to the top. And then within the range, I'll say minimum 1,000. Okay. Now let's duplicate this. Instead of changing this, I could just change it by clicking right here, change visualization type, but let's leave the table. And we can either right-click, edit, and say duplicate, or we can click these 3 dots here where the menu is, edit, duplicate. So now we have 2 visualizations. This one here on the right will change this visualization. I'm clicking the 3rd icon from the right within this visualization. And we'll choose map. So now we've got a map on the right and a table on the left. Now this map, let's first of all minimize the grammar panel here. I'm just going to drag this. So now the grammar panel and the data panel are gone, so we got a little more room here. I'll even move this a little bit. Now the United States is by far the largest, as we can see, by the large color here, the dark color. If we sort here in the table, high to low, we'll see here that it's by far the largest. So let's get rid of that United States so that we'll have a closer variety of colors. It's throwing off the whole skew here by having such a number so much larger than all the others. So another way to get rid of this, we could do an expression filter. We could drag the country to the top and remove the United States, or we could right-click here and say remove selected, and now we no longer have the United States. And you can see here a filter was automatically added. So now we have a nice visualization here. We can see now Russia is by far the largest without even looking at the table, because we can see the large number there. And by the way, if I click on the right, I clicked Russia on the right and it became selected. If I click Canada on the table, now Canada is highlighted here, etc., etc. Now I click China on the left, China is highlighted here. So it's interactive, these 2 visualizations. And we can zoom in. Let's check, for example, Western Europe. So we say UK looks like the highest in Western Europe. We got Germany, Spain, Portugal, France, Italy, etc. So now we have the visualization of from where have people been using our assets, but we don't yet have the timeline. So now we'll add in the timeline. We will put back the data panel and the grammar panel. On the bottom right, we have 2 icons, toggle data panel, toggle grammar panel. I'm going to click toggle data panel. Now you can see my data panel is back in. Toggle grammar panel. Now you can see my grammar panel is back in. So let's again duplicate this table. Before we duplicate the table, I'm going to remove the current sort. So if we right-click on the top of any of these tables, or any of these columns, we've got the sort by, and I'm going to say clear sorts, just so we don't have any sorts. Now there's no sort, so the clear sort is graded out. And let's duplicate this one. We'll say edit, duplicate visualization. And now instead of the country, we'll put in the year and the month key. So we have a folder here of usage date. So we'll put the usage year. Now instead of removing, I could just remove the country, or I could take another field and put it right on top, and that will replace it. So now you can see here we've got the year. Then we want the usage month key. I'll just drag that right there. Now note that this one in the middle changed because this one here was not in focus. This is the one I was focused on. Whichever one we're focusing on is the one that can change, and we can, of course, move these around however we'd like. So now we have the year, then the month key, and then the number of views. It's automatically sorting now by year, then month, because it sorts by the left column, then the next column, then the next column. Of course, I could come and change the sorts to however I would like. But this table is not really giving us a nice visualization of the usage, so we can change this now to a line graph. So we'll choose here while we're focusing on this visualization here. I'm clicking here, the third icon from the right, which says Change Visualization Type, and we'll select the line graph. Now let's view this larger again. We'll say Toggle Data Panel and Toggle Grammar Panel, those icons on the bottom right, those two icons. I'm clicking Toggle Data Panel, Toggle Grammar Panel. We can probably make this table significantly smaller here. We might not even need this table, but we can leave it there for now. So now we have the usage here by time, by year. We can see it went up again, came down. Let's save this. I'll click Save As. And let's call this YouTube Video Research Asset Usage by Country and Time. Okay. And let's save this now. So I'm going to put this in a folder called Reports Ex Libris. So we've got Reports and we've got Ex Libris. Great. So now we're in one sense we're done here. However, we really haven't made this available to a consumer, and that's what we'll do now. We could play around a little bit more here, but for our purposes, we've included everything we want to include. We might want, for example, here to say add statistics and put in some kind of statistics here. We might want to change this instead of a table like this. We might want to do a heat table or some other kind of table. Let's just check out one or two other possible visualizations here. We could make it a pivot table. You can experiment here with the different types of options here. A grid heat map. And then again, we've got the darker ones indicating a higher usage. Again, we've got Russia with a much darker color than the others. But for our purposes, we have displayed what we want to display, and now we want to make this available to the end user, to the consumer. So let's pop back into Esploro, and under the Analytics menu, let's make this an analytics object that a user will be able to what's called pin to his objects, so that it will appear here in his pinned objects or her pinned objects. So we're in the Analytics Objects list, and we'll create a new Esploro Analytics object. We'll choose that folder. That folder had the word Ex Libris in it. And we'll choose our report, which started with YouTube. We'll leave the display name the same, and we'll say Save. So now we've created the object. And let's say who we want to be able to view this object. We can see here the name of it. We can see here the subject area that's getting used, the Esploro Research Asset subject area, that I created it. And let's say here now which users, or to be more exact, which users with which roles will be able to access this workbook. So let's say add roles, and let's say we want all of these that start with research or researcher to be able to access this. So right now, any user who has any of these 7 roles will be able to access this data visualization workbook called YouTube Video Research Asset Usage by Country and Time. We'll save that. And everything else is good. We could make it scheduled. We could add it as a dashboard. There's many other things we could do here. But we'll leave it as it is for now. And now let's see what's going to happen if I log in as a user who doesn't have the role of Designs Analytics. I have the role Designs Analytics, so I can say Access Analytics, Access Data Visualization. I'm also an Analytics Esploro Administrator, so I can access the Analytics Objects list. But we're going to go in now as a user who doesn't have any of those roles. So let's sign out here. And we'll go in as a different user. And now let's see what's going to happen. I'm a user who has one of those 7 research roles, so I can pin this to my pinned objects. However, if we click Analytics, you see I don't have Access Analytics, I don't have Access Data Visualization, and I don't have Analytics Objects List. I'll go to the Shared with Me. And here's the one we made just 2 moments ago called YouTube Video Research Asset Usage by Country and Time. I'll click this Pin to Analytics menu. And now, if I come into Analytics, here it is, because I pinned it to my objects. And now, and there it is. Now, note also here, I do not have any options. I don't have a grammar panel. I don't have a data panel. You can see on the bottom right here that I don't have a grammar panel, a data panel. I can't change this. I'm only a consumer. I'm not a designer. And I can view, I can consume this workbook, which we just created, which shows us the research asset usage by country and time. Thanks, everybody, for joining, and we hope to see you in our future sessions.